Hello, welcome to Flosstube number 2. I'm Miss Turtle, and I've got a slightly different microphone setup today, so hopefully things will not sound too mumbly. I was watching my last video and I thought I should rename my channel to The Mumbling Turtle. Anyway, I voted today. It is October 23rd. I voted today. Have you voted yet? If early voting is open for you, go vote. And if not, go vote the day that it is open for you. Anyway, I am going to be sharing my projects today, and so let's get started. The first project I'm going to start with is actually a finish. Let me move this aside and I'll bring the finish out. And it is a fully finished item. It is the Christmas gift for my mom, and my last Flosstube video, it was a Flosstube extra, and it was showing me framing this piece. So I finished this piece. I pinned with these sequin pins. I pinned the piece to foam core board, and then I mounted it onto this frame that I found, and the color just is perfect. The color tone, everything is perfect. The size is perfect. It's not a typical size. Typical size was 5x7 and then 8x10. And this was a 9 by 8 by 10 or 5 by 7. It was in between. Anyway, it came out great, and I think my mom's gonna really love it. And so that's my finish. This is actually also my very first cross stitch that I've ever finished. So the next piece I'm going to show you is my Fruits of Plenty by Modern Folk Embroidery. This is the before. So this is there are 3 columns to this pattern, 4 columns, excuse me, 4 rows, excuse me. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and then I was on a start right here on October, and that was my start. I had barely gotten started on it, and now October is complete. It is complete. And November is almost complete. I'm at 75%, 76%, something along those lines. And then I've got December to go. So I'm getting pretty close to this, and I leave it in the hoop. It does not seem to make a difference. I had originally started this piece on scroll bars, and I think last time I was calling these scroller bars. They're scroll bars. One, and the other mistake I made is I think I said the color was 223 and 451. It's actually 225. This light color is 225, and then this dark color is 451. So I misspoke there. It's 225 and 451. I am absolutely loving this piece. When I worked on this tree, I think the last time I had said that this star right here was my favorite element in the entire piece that I had done so far. And then this, when I was finished with this, I was like, oh, this plant is my favorite. And then I worked on this, and I worked on the hands, and now this is my favorite. I'm working on this. It looks geometric. This part right here. Now this is my favorite. So I guess whatever I work on the last is my favorite part. And I had to frog a little bit here. I had done all of this pink, and I had done the hand. Well, actually, I had done the hand first, and then I had done all this pink, and I just take it all out because there was one extra digit on all these fingers over here, and so it threw this star pattern off, or snowflake pattern off, because I had counted by the digits because that was the closest reference point I had that was kind of more precise. And I would have left it, except that one, it's quite symmetrical, this pattern. and two, these bits were touching the brown line, and I did not like that, so I ended up having to frog it. I'm glad I did. It was an extra probably about an hour between the frogging and then the restitching, but I think it was worthwhile spending the time. So if you do this pattern, make sure you don't add extra digits to the fingers. And so yeah, that's where I'm at with this one. This one I've been doing focus until finished. So crafting gamer Jam crafting Jamie Gamey craft crafting Jamie Gamey. I'm gonna put the name in the description. She is amazing, amazing cross stitcher, Flosstuber, um, and she does this thing where it's focus until finished Fridays. So on Fridays, she focuses on pieces that she's focusing on finishing. And I've kind of been doing that as well, except instead of just Fridays, it's pretty much all week, focus until finished. So I'm doing Jen, the craftinated stitcher, Jen, the names today, man. Jen, the caffeinated, oh my God, I did it again. Jen, the caffeinated stitcher, goodness. She is playing Monopoly, and so what I've been doing is she's got 4 tokens on her game that she's playing, and so whatever the stitch count ends up being for each of the tokens, I've got a project assigned to each token, and I'll do that many stitches that week on that project. And so I've been doing that. So I've been focusing on, or not focusing, but I've been working on 4 projects as a result of that game. And then this is my 5th project that I work on for counted cross stitch. I also have a stamped cross stitch. We'll get there. And so this is my focus until finished. So I start the week with whatever stitches I have for Monopoly on those 4 projects. Once that's done, I go and work on this pretty much. No, it's not like I finish all of Monopoly and then work on this. Typically what I do is I'll do 1 project per day. So let's say the dog token project, I'll go and finish the dog token project, and then I'll go and work on this the rest of the day if there's any stitching time left, depending on how many stitches are for that particular token. The thimble has been a troublemaker. Anyway, so this is my Fruits of Plenty. I'm almost done. I've stitched in the 4 here. Somebody had suggested that instead of doing the years or even the initials, she does initials down here or up here. Instead of doing those, she just puts in motifs, so they stay, I guess, more generic. And I thought that was a good idea, and I was planning on doing some sort of like snowflake pattern or these leaf patterns down here, but then I remembered that up here in February, I put in 20 already, so 2021. It was what it was supposed to say. So I thought it would be silly to leave those two, and I was not going to go up here and frog this. I was not going to do that. So I decided I was going to go ahead and do this and put the year in for this one. But from now on, I will probably take that advice from that person who commented and just find motifs that go along with what's going on in the rest of the pattern to remove the year, because I mean the year doesn't really matter to me. I suppose if a piece is focused around the year, I might do that. Anyway, let's move on to the next project. This is my next project here. This is the Gecko Rouge Bee. Here is my start on it. Let's see, can you see that properly without glare? Yeah. This is my start on it. This is one of my Monopoly token projects, and this guy has been assigned to the cat token, and I'm typically always like carrying my balance over into the next week because I haven't finished it. So I got this, by the way, I got this new setup that I've been using. I got one of these what are these called? Hoops. Hoops with the attachment thing, so you've got room to like work down here like this. So what I typically do is I take my hoop, imagine there's a project on it, I rest it like that, and then I come in and I clip my light on like that, and then it stays. This obviously this is not hooked to it, but when there's a project on it, this stays sturdy enough. I can like tilt it or whatever I need to do to make it more comfortable. I can even move it around, like if there's something where this bar might get in the way, you know, I can move it this way and things like that. It's pretty flexible. So that's been my new setup. And so whatever project I'm working on, it goes up here. But on the other side is where I've got my bee. And the reason I've got it set up that way is because I've got a lot of, shall we call it, internal resistance to working on this bee. I don't know why. I think I do know why. I think I don't like working on the over one. It's really, really tiny. And I don't like how the waist thread situation is going. I don't like that it's not a loop start, so I have to do these away knot things. So I do know why I don't like working on this, but I've made a bit of progress. It's not a lot. Let's go back to the start picture. This was my tiny little start, and then I've been playing Monopoly with this for 3 weeks. So you can see, I mean, a few hundred stitches every once in a while uh, make truly do make a difference. You know, this is much farther along, and I think um, now that these like independent little chunks are going to be over, right? If you look at it, there's independent little chunks over here, and then you get into like the full coverage piece of it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to something like Royal Rose, just so this stuff is not so annoying to me anymore, because it's very disciplined, the Royal Rose, in terms of where the waist thread goes, where the parked stitches go, etc. And I think that might help me with some of my internal resistance that I'm having to this project. So that's my bee. That is my cat project. And then I also made a grime guard for myself, since this is on here all the time, but I'm using the other side of it. I made this little grime guard for it. And so it stays clean, not just on the sides, but because it sits like this, it stays nice and clean. So that's my bee. Oh, and it lives in this project bag that my friend Jen, not Jen the caffeinated stitcher, goodness, not her, a different Jen, who is also on YouTube. She does not do Flosstube yet, but I'm trying to bully her into it. So if you know Jen of Jen's TNs, go bully her to make a Flosstube. Alrighty, my next project is called Hyy Toyy by Long Dog Samplers. This is what the project is going to look like. Now, this is what the original project is supposed to look like, but I'm doing the Jan Hicks conversion, so it looks like this. Now, as you notice, this one does have the 2017 and the initials, so it does have the year and the initials. I might, when I get there eventually, I might change that. But it's also such a prominent feature that I don't know what I could change it to, but that's a future me problem. I can just as easily make the outlines of those diamonds, and then figure out what to fill into them later at a later date. And so I'm not terribly worried about it. There's so much more of the project to go before I get there. So on this, I don't even have a before picture because I had such little progress on it. It was literally this tiny little corner. I had about that much done. And this is the car token on Jen's Monopoly project for me. And this is the left side of the frame. This is the right side of the frame. I was getting a little bit nervous because I thought I didn't have enough fabric on each side. With just that much start. So I decided I would go all the way across just to make sure I had enough. And now I actually kinda like that, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go all the way down and just do the whole frame first, and maybe I'll just do all the 939. This is 939. I think it's 310 in the original project, but I'm gonna do the entire frame first, and I like stitching with 939 or even 310. Same with diamond painting. I like working on 939 and 310 diamonds. Typically, those are outlining things and framing things, and they just bring the whole thing to life, you know. And you can start to see the framework, and then you can put in the details, and that's how my brain works anyway. So this is where I am with this. Again, just a few hundred stitches a week makes so much progress. I'm quite impressed. I'm really liking the Monopoly game. And I know Jen's planning on making some changes to her Monopoly game, and we'll see. I might just stick to my original 4 tokens, or I may add another token on because I think she's talking about adding more tokens on. And she's also making changes to like what projects she's assigning and things like that. There's going to be projects per token, per board, that type of thing. I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to stick to the stitch count for each week. That's working really well. So between the Monopoly game and the focus until finished, it's just been working out really good. So this is my car token, Hoity Toity. Let's move on to the next project. All right, my next project is called The Lord is My Shepherd. This is a free pattern by Fox and Rabbit. And there are a couple of little issues with the project, or the pattern rather, and I'm not complaining because this is a free pattern. No right to complain as far as I'm concerned. But in case you see my video and you decide you want to do it, I just want to point out a couple of issues that I have noticed so that when you work on it, you can also compensate for it. So, one thing is the S here is flipped. Um, I'm not sure if that's a stylistic choice or what, but I'm going to flip it. Also, shepherd seems to be misspelled, and I thought it was maybe the British spelling of shepherd, but I went and looked it up, and I'm really not sure what this shepherd spelling is. So it is supposed to be an E. The H is the one where some places it's optional, some places it's not. So when you stitch if you convert the A into an E like this one, everything shifts over a tiny little bit by one stitch, which actually lines up better in terms of the project. So it's going to work out better there. Other thing I noticed is I'm actually going to show it on the project. So here's my progress. This was not started before, so I don't have a before picture. But for this frame, all of these are 5 long, and then there's the stem going down, and then it's 5 long again. For some reason, on this one, this this part of the bar is 6 stitches long, and the same on this side on the top. It's 6 stitches long. Now I thought, okay, I'll just make it 5 like the rest of them are, but then I looked at the rest of the pattern and how taking that one row of or column of stitches out, I don't know how it was going to impact it, if something was going to get smashed up against each other. I don't know. So I went ahead and just did the 6. It's hardly noticeable, but just something to note if you're more savvy with patterns and you don't want that extra stitch there, there is that one little thing that I've noticed. So anyway, this pattern's coming out beautiful. This is my dog token on Monopoly, and for going from nothing to having quite a bit done, again, I'm very impressed. And I wanted to get the frame done. I had started up here, and I was planning on going through and doing the pattern, but then I decided to do the frame first just so I could get the edges of the pattern, because this piece of fabric that I had was quite long. It was the way it was cut. This is the selvage, so that going this way was the other end of the bolt, and so it was 56 inches long. It was very, very long. It's not as tall. It's not as tall, but it was very long, and it was getting unwieldy. So I wanted to get to this edge, so I knew where to cut the fabric off, and that's what I did. And everything's been fray checked. My little saga of trying to find fray check. I don't know if I shared that on my first Flosstube or not, but I had a whole saga of trying to find fray check. was quite the journey, but I finally got a bottle of it, and now I've used more than half of it. But anyway, so this is my dog token. I think I already said that. This is my dog token on Monopoly. This is technically meant to be a Christmas gift. I don't know if I'm going to make it. It's mid-October. Actually, we're through the third week of October almost here. And so I don't know if we'll make it. Especially since I'm only doing this on Monopoly. What I might do is once I've finished my Fruits of Plenty, um, maybe this will become my new focus until finished. Because whatever project is focus until finished, I get a lot more stitching done on it, especially right now because I'm only working part-time and I'm doing volunteer work. So I've got a lot more flexibility with my schedule. The mental burnout during the week is a lot less because I'm not doing a full-time job that's, mentally taxing and whatnot. So, um, and if I can make it this my next focus until finished, in the next 3 weeks or so, which is how long I'm hoping Fruits of Plenty has got left, then this might get done by Christmas. We'll see. It is much bigger, so I may have to take this to be professionally framed, in which case I'm pretty sure by that point every place will have a Christmas cutoff already in place. So, anyway, I think the gift will be appreciated regardless. So, all right, my next project is the Cozy Cafe by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. This is a project I'm doing with my friend Jen of Jen's TNs, and we're planning on doing 1 cup per month. And so she started in the middle with the raspberry mocha. I started on the edge with apple cider, and this is my start on it. Put this over here. This is my start on it. Uh, this fabric is 14 count light basalt splash Ada. And here is my cup. I'm not doing the beads yet because I've been using the hoops. So I'm going to do the beading the very, very last thing. So, and this is my thimble on the Monopoly game. So my cup is completed. And I'm still working on this for Monopoly because there are a lot of elements to the pattern that, like the cafe menu, the frame, the shelves actually. Um, all of that is not cups. So right now I'm focusing on working on these things for the Monopoly game, and once I had my cup done, I'm not going to go past doing all the extra stuff. Like I'm not going to start into the next cup once I'm done with my Monopoly stitches for the month. So I think doing all the extra stuff is going to get me through October. In November, once I'm completed with the frame and the shelves, and I still have stitches left for Monopoly, I think I'm going to pick a secondary project to replace this and work on that project until the next month rolls over and then another cup is due. So I think basically with Monopoly Thimble, this project's going to get priority until I can work on it no more based on the rules that I have with my friend Jen for our stitch along. And at that point, I will move on to another project. So this is where I'm at with that. Let's go to the next project. Okay, so this is my stamped cross stitch. I've never done stamped cross stitch before. This is my very first one. It is a 11 count fabric, and the main reason I got this, I didn't have any particular desire to work on cross stitch or stamped cross stitch or anything like that, but I wanted to try it out because I've never done one before. And two, this image This image is so adorable. It is so adorable. I know it's foxes, but I look at this and I see my dogs. That one's Olive, the long suffering Olive, and that one's Pimmy, the 90-pound wrecking ball of a puppy. Annoying her. Annoying Olive. It's it's my babies, so I had to do it. And I will say that while I like the concept of counted cross or stamped cross stitch, I'm not particularly enjoying working on this, only because the 11 count is very, very stiff, and I know it softens up with time and all that, but it's very hard on my hands. Even as it is softening up, it's softened up quite a bit. I'm gonna sneeze. Nope, not yet. Okay. Um, so here's the project. I'm not even gonna take the hoop out. And if you know anything about stamped cross stitch, this looks normal to you. If you've never seen a stamped cross stitch before, this may look very, very odd. And the reason is they're not using the colors that you expect. So, for example, um, this area is supposed to be oranges and yellows and things, right? Well, they've got these colors here as a contrast, so you know when you're going in to stitch what colors you need to put in. So the way it's working is you've got a key down here. You know, when it's this pink box, a dark pink box here, you're supposed to use DMC 744, and that's probably going to be like a green or something or a brown. I don't know. It's not going to be this dark pink color, right? Like all this yellow that I did under it, you can see this stamped part was actually a bright orange. So these are not the colors it's going to be, and the ink of the printing will wash out. I know because Miss Pimmy came along and sniffed at the cross stitch, and this is before I did the stitching over it. It got all smudged just from the little bit of wetness from her snoot getting on it. The only problem I'm having with this cross stitch is I've so far run out of two colors. I've run out of this yellow that goes on top of this orange, and I've run out of a green. Oh, I've run out of a yellow. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches short. I just did not have enough of the yellow. Now the way the grass is, if I don't finish that, not the end of the deal, not the end of the world. But this grass color, this orange or this yellow, like a mid yellow that goes on top of the orange, I've run out over here. Oh, and also over here, and there's a little bit over here. So I've run out of it in quite a few places. I'll message them once I'm done with the whole thing, and I'll let them know which colors I've run out of. Depending on what they say, I may just try to find something that's an equivalent in DMC. It's probably going to look a little different, but who cares at this point? And So, by the way, I'm doing tent stitch. So this is an 11 count Ada. So that means I'm supposed to use 3 strands of floss to do a full cross stitch. So I'm just using 6 strands to do a tent stitch. And maybe that's also why it's so hard, because the needle has to pull 12 strands of floss through, because you know it's folded over in your needle. And maybe that's why this is being so hard on my hands. I don't know. I've got a couple other. When I ordered this, I also ordered a couple of 14 count Ada stamped stitches. So once I'm done with this, I will try those, and if those work out better, then maybe stamped cross stitch could become a more permanent aspect of my stitching life. We'll see. But this particular one I just had to do because the foxes are adorable and they look like my babies. So and this project I work on maybe once or twice a week. I don't work on it very often. Like I said, it's very hard on my hands. So whenever I'm done with my Monopoly stitching and I'm done with the Fruits of Plenty, as in I don't want to work on it anymore, I'll pick this up. Is kind of how that goes. All right. I've got one more thing to show you. So this is the last thing I'm going to show. This is actually going to be a new start. This is going to be a birthday start. And this is a custom cross stitch. It's actually two custom cross stitch patterns. For these are my two doggies. This is Pimmy, and this is Olive. Olive is the older one. Pimmy is the puppy. And this is a custom cross stitch done by Luthien Art Shop. Meltem is the artist's name. I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, because Meltem is the username they had used, and not it's a very neutral name, so I'm not sure. But they did an amazing job on this, and I'm gonna make a couple of changes to the frame to make it more jewel toned, and I think I'm gonna replace all the black outlining with 939 to kind of also go along with the jewel tones. But basically, it was a very, very simple project. I ordered the patterns and then I messaged them. I'm going to say she because I think it's a she. And if it's not, I apologize. But I messaged her pictures of my babies, and she took them and she made these beautiful renders. And I mean, she has the patience of a saint because I asked for so many different changes at so many different points in the process. Um, my baby Olive, she's getting a little bit older and she's got some white around her snoot, and it was very prominent in the very first draft she sent. And I just said to her, this is not the reality I need to be confronted with any more than I already am on a daily basis. I need you to take that down. And she did. She got rid of the white. I sent her some older pictures of Olive, and she took down all of that. And we had to make a lot of adjustments on Olive just because she's brindle colored, and so there's a lot going on. And and she's a darker colored dog, so just to make sure that it popped out and looked nice. And then Pimmy, I don't know if we may have made a change or two, but for the most part, we didn't have to make a lot of changes to hers. She was pretty easy to render, and their personalities just really, really come through. I don't know. She did an amazing job on these, and she messaged me a couple of weeks after she did them, saying, "Is everything okay?" and all that. And I was like, "Well, the only thing at this point that I need help with is deciding which one of these two to start with, because whoever I start with, they obviously are my favorite, right?" And so she suggested that. I leave. What did she say? It was a very diplomatic answer. It was something to the effect of, do the frames last so that they both finish at the same time, and then there's no favoritism or something along those lines. I loved that. That was hilarious. So I'm gonna do center starts on these just because the fabric that I got, it's very, very exact the amount of fabric that I need, and so including the margins for the framing, and so I'm gonna do a center start just to make sure I really get the right amount of fabric, or get the placement right, because trying to place this top thing and it's gonna be complicated. It's gonna be easier to do a center start. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna do a die. Maybe Pimmy is pimento. Pimmy is odd numbers and Olive is even numbers, and then whatever the die lands on, whether it's an odd number or even number, that's how I decide. And then I probably will work back and forth on those. Probably, I think. What I could do is I could once my Fruits of Plenty is finished, my next focus until finished is going to become uh, Lord is my shepherd. And so I'm going to need a replacement for that dog token. And maybe one of these can become the replacement for the dog token, and the other one can become the alternate to the Cozy Cafe when the stitches for that piece are done for the month. That might work out, actually. Uh, I don't know. The whole gamifying my cross stitch, I love the idea of it, but I feel like anytime there's a change to the landscape of my whips, I'm gonna have to change all the rules around. So maybe this will be part of it. We shall see. Anyway, So this is gonna be my next start. It's already kitted up. I've got all the floss, I've got all the fabric. I was planning on actually initially doing this in belle soie, and then I looked at the number of flosses I'm gonna need, and well, I'm sticking to DMC, is what I've decided. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. I might come back and do a 2-week update. I'm not sure, and or I might stick to the month every month update. I really like watching the Flosstubers that enjoy watching. I like watching as many videos of theirs as I can, and I like it when like Jen, the caffeinated crafter, she does. Haha! Finally, I got it right for once. She does videos every week, and I love that. Sometimes she's got bonus videos, and I love that. And then Jamie of I'm not even gonna try this time. She at least right now is doing videos every week, and they're vlog style. So she's recording every day, but then she's compiling into 1 week videos, and so I'm really enjoying that. And so maybe I'll do because I have so much stitching that I can get done right now. I might just stick. I might just do more frequent videos now, and then if I start working full time, then maybe uh, I'll go down to less frequent just because there'll be less to show. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and if you're still around, that's amazing. And hope to catch you next time. Bye.